Toronto going over
Yeah.
to do a bit of outreach into CAS, getting the brand out there, because there's a highly likelihood they'll be in Super League next year. How do you feel about Toronto coming into Super League, if they get there?
I'm having Groundhog Day. Didn't you ask me this question?
Yeah.
They were highly likely last year, weren't they?
They are highly likely. I'll tell you what.
Even more highly likely this year.
I'll tell you now, Brian McDermott will not lose that game. They're playing like Leeds played.
Okay.
They look very
No,
good.
listen, I think clearly they're hot favourites. They dominated that season, the championship season. But, you know, I know Toulouse have already been in touch with Super League asking, how does it work next year? So they're pretty confident as well. Toronto are doing a lot of good stuff, which you have to admire. You know, I've been out there once for that Hull KR game in Middle Eights last year, and I think I said, you know, it felt young, it felt fresh, branding's good, merchandise is good, there's some good stuff happening there. As I've said before, however, you know, Toronto, you know, dealing with it on different levels. I think most fundamentally, you know, the integrity of the competition. Can we manage transatlantic flying and a team on the other side of the world without damaging competitive integrity, competition integrity? And I don't think that's a shoo-in. I think that needs to be looked at. You know, I think it's an arduous journey, and it may affect the balance of the competition. I think we need to be certain that's not going to happen. I think the other thing really is about its own self-sustainability and where it's heading as a rugby league club. And I think, you know, there's clearly exposure to the current ownership group, which is doing things in the right way, which is trying to build, which is building audience, which is building commercial partners. But ultimately, there, you know, there's no getting away from it. There is that exposure to the ownership group. I think then the third dimension is the most interesting bit, which is what does it bring for Super League as a whole, and does it bring incremental TV monies, sponsorship monies, fan monies into Super League? And I think, you know, the jury's very much out on that. However, you know, if they win their grand final, then subject to some minimum standards, and indeed we are talking to the RFL about making sure that process is done tightly and managed particularly well, then you know, they will, I'm sure, come into Super League, and if they do, then we've got to embrace it really, really positively, and that's what we will do. You know, there are undoubtedly question marks. There are, you know, I talk to a lot of people who scratch their heads and feel, you know, it's very random, it's very spurious, and nobody can really understand why and how and what. And then equally, you talk to other people who just think this is really exciting. It's a brave new world.
It's awesome.
So,
it's so good.
So you're in that camp, Alex. It is an amazing city, but ultimately, it is.
The presentation itself is like, it's old school. It's like something out of the 70s in some respects, but it's great fun. And it's genuine fun.
It is, but we can't get away from the fact, you know, where it is, how far it is, the demands it'll place on the competition, its sustainability, and ultimately, you know, is it growing the Super League cake? Now, you know, it's harsh to say, you know, a club that was only founded 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, you know, it's hard for them to have that track record, to be able to demonstrate very clearly. So it is a bit of a leap of faith, but and it would be, I think, a lot easier were it not for where it is geographically. You know, I've said to people, it feels a little bit like if you were going to pick 100 cities where you put a Super League club, you know, would Toronto be in the top 100? It probably wouldn't.
Probably not.
So it is a bit random. Now, listen, we've got to make sure that if they do come into Super League, we embrace them, we try and take advantage of what opportunities they bring, and we do a great job looking after Toronto in that competition.